feel like coast to coast, but on demand. Raw and uncut interviews, and all without no ads. One says false and one says true, and the rate you sing grows too. Grimerica is here for you. Stories from the listeners, they sent to Graham. He'll read them and be amazed, but Darren may say no. One says red and one says blue, but if it's balls it just won't do. Grimerica is here for you.
I'm spending the day not speaking. I'm going to write things, but I'm not going to speak all day to give myself, a little bit of a break from communicating and see what that does to my brain.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We're going to be chatting with Alexander Polinsky a little bit later. Some of you might have heard the name before, others maybe not. It was a fun episode. We chat about a little bit of everything. I think he was in, what was it, Growing Pains or something like that when he was a kid. That's pretty cool. And we got, of course, our resident artist. He does all the amazing art that you guys see in your new Grimerica apps. Or
He's in Charles in Charge. You had to get that wrong. Come on.
Charles in Charge.
But he's had some great experiences. We talk about all kinds of spiritual stuff and avatarism and Hollywood. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Very interesting guy. It was awesome. It was one of those.
It's a great chat.
Yeah. One of my favorites, I think, in the end.
Yeah. You guys should enjoy it.
Yeah.
Napoleon's going to join us. Talk about his new not Kickstarter, right? GoFundMe?
It's a Patreon, yeah.
Patreon, yeah. We're going to talk about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Graham already started talking, so it's not going to work quite as good, but as always, Graham, boyhood wonder, Dunlop.
Aw.
What the fuck is that for?
I enjoy your boyhood wonder.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh,
I do like your boyish charm, Graham. I'd say that's what attracts me most to you.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
It's a hit. You don't want to know what lower was.
Is that why I want to be a gnome in my Dungeons and Dragons character?
Are you a gnome now? I thought you were going to be a cleric.
No, I'm a gnome cleric.
Ah.
They had just finished voting on what the lamest character was. You jumped on and picked him.
Anyways.
How you been?
Yeah.
How you been, Nap? Welcome back.
Hey, I've been doing good. Yeah. I like you guys were saying, I did start up a Patreon. And that is just patreon.com/lucidnap, all one word. And I'm starting it up because I really, I'm getting to the end of the Cloud Mummies saga, which has been going on for a while now. And I really would like to publish a second book. I published a first book as a paperback, and my plans for the second book are I'd like to publish the web stuff, the web comic stuff, into a paperback version just like the first one. But I'd also like to publish a hardbound. That's the first version. That's the first issue, the second issue, and some extra stories I've been working on the side that you can't get on the web as maybe a more hardbound or just a sort of more luxury item kind of thing that I want to make available for everybody. And I've got some goals coming up that, one of the goals is to print the book. Another one that I'd like to do, and we can talk about how we want to arrange this, is I'd like to do a coffee table book of the art of Grimerica. Where I do all the pictures that I've done, like in a book, and tell the stories behind it. Some of the pictures I did when I was on a medical fast, and I was not allowed to have coffee or a lot of other foods that I normally have. And so my system was in super bad withdrawal. So I actually had like a vomit bucket. And I was sitting there drawing, and then I would throw up, and then I would keep drawing. Or some of the pictures, I don't know if you guys are okay with me talking about this. If not, edit it out. Some of the pictures were drawn in like an hour because of schedule changes and stuff like that. And so there's some interesting stories that I'd like to share with people about how those came to be and the thought behind certain pictures. And there's little secret things hidden into some of the pictures that I can explain. So
see, this is why people need to be listening on something other than the fucking Apple Podcast app. Because I checked out the show again on the Apple Podcast app the other day, and they still haven't fucking changed it to
really?
CBR.
I thought they would, yeah.
It's supposed to be coming. Supposedly it's a glitch. Like, I'm trying to arrange it. They've changed the way to display the show in the chat in the podcast app now, the podcast directory or whatever. So I've been fucking stuck adjusting that for boxes that I accidentally clicked 2 years ago. Now we're displaying at the top.
Oh.
So I've been in there a lot, and I noticed that they still don't do the art. But you know what does do the art is both the new app does the art really well. It's like the whole thing is the art, and you hit play, and it's the backdrop.
Yep.
Overcast does the art well. Eyecatcher does the art well.
Yeah.
Those are the top three if you're on iOS.
And so Nap, just to back up a bit, Nap does our art every week. It's unique for each episode.
Mm-hmm.
And amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a little book cover for every podcast.
Yeah. So we really appreciate that, Nap. I mean, we know how much time it takes you.
So anyway, a lot of you guys are missing out on that. Like, I think the last time I checked, it's like fucking still like 68% of podcasts are listened to through the native podcast player.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys are missing out on the art. Get your shit together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Overcast is free.
It's true. The other thing I'd like to plug, if it's okay, is
sure.
UMG. UMG just went live. The unaffiliated broadcasting group just went live. And we are available on iTunes. We're available online. You just click the links through Libsyn. And yeah, it's just unaffiliated.ca. We have a Canadian server. And there's a story behind that.
There is a story behind that, yeah.
But yeah, and so we went live, and there are 2 podcasts up right now. One is a pod drama. It's going to be a 9-episode season. This is the first episode of the season with special guest star Cyrus Salisbury, who you may remember from the Randall Carlson podcast.
That general asshole. And we love Cyrus.
And then there is also going to be Graham and Darren came in on 2 episodes, actually, as my special guest stars. And so it's fun. It's a pod dramedy. We sort of take a lot of the Fortean paranormal kind of stuff, blend it in with sort of political things, and it's all meant in fun. It's all just very silly and cute, and not cute, but it's very fun. And I hope that you guys will enjoy that. And then on a more serious note, I do a podcast called The Defeated, where I actually travel to reenactments or different historical sites, and I interview people there. And I try to explore the perspective of the defeated armies throughout history, the people who you're not going to learn about in the history books, what their motivations were, why they went to war, because going to war is a huge commitment. You just don't do it on the fly. You have to have real convictions and real. Yeah. And I want people to understand the motivations behind these, not that we condone what they did, but that the motivations that were driving them at the time and the reasons why they did it. And the first one is the Civil War, because I feel like that's a real hot button issue right now, that you have a lot of people claiming sides very ferociously and not really understanding the history behind it, the culture behind it, people waving Confederate flags and claiming white power. And you're like, if you look at the Confederacy and the system that was going on, that's a pretty stupid thing to attribute to it. Because yes, black people were enslaved. They were seen as property. But these people were not saying somebody who went to the same school as me, someone who lives in my neighborhood, who works the same job, is less because they're brown. They're saying that because they were raised in a culture, they were taught every day that this was the way things were, and their whole agriculture, their whole trade system, which incorporated France and England, was based on this system. And so they were defending that. It wasn't about white supremacy necessarily. And then you have people on the other side, like at Piedmont Park, who tried to tear down a statue that was actually about reconciliation between the North and the South. It displays an angel begging a Confederate soldier to lay down their arms. It was put up in 1911, so 40-some years, almost 50 years after the Civil War ended. And people were trying to tear it down because they're so ill-educated, and they didn't understand that, you're tearing down something that's supposedly symbolizing what you stand for. And so I'm just like, I got to get this out there. I was really on the fence about it. I was like, this is maybe too raw. I don't know if I want to do this. But then
is that the one that I've listened to? I think I've listened to more. Yeah. Oh, that's a great episode. Yeah, that'll be great.
Really good, really good. So people are going to love that. And then, did you learn anything that you didn't realize? Like, was there any moments of kind of wow when you were researching that topic?
Yeah. I think that there was. Because when I was in school, people were always they really harp on the slavery issue, and absolutely that was the reason why the South decided to secede. It was, there's no arguing about it. It's why they wanted to secede, because Lincoln would not allow slavery into the new forming Western states. And the South was like, you're killing off our way of life. But one of the things I thought was so interesting was in reading about how the Republican Party actually formed with Lincoln. And a lot of it was because Buchanan, who is the president before Lincoln, he wanted to get the slavery issue had been back and forth. Both France and England had already outlawed slavery. England in, I believe, 1833. They had already outlawed slavery. It was very tongue-in-cheek for them to trade with the South because they knew what was going on, but they also wanted that cotton. And Buchanan, knowing that this was a hot issue, he was a Northerner with Southern sympathies during the Dred Scott case, where Dred Scott, a man from Missouri who had been free for many years, was trying to argue that him and his family should become citizens, should be free, should not ever have to worry about the risk of being captured and brought into slavery again. Buchanan swayed the judges so that they would rule against Dred Scott, and that they would actually declare that no slave brought into America could ever become an American citizen. And that made them property forever. And he was like, good, wash my hands of this. I'm all done. I'm out. and the Republican Party actually formed in defiance against this, saying like, oh my God, this is disgusting. How horrible. And it's that tide of unrest and anger that drove Lincoln into the office. And Lincoln was kind of a frontiersman. He was a lawyer, but he was sort of seen as like a wild man and kind of like, I don't know about this guy. People didn't really love him. And I don't talk about it in the podcast, but he was really great at molding his character. He grew the beard after he was elected, and he claimed that it was because people had been telling him for years, "You're ugly as sin, grow a beard." But they'd been telling him for years, like, grow a beard. And he said, well, I got a letter from a young potential voter, a young future voter, and they said, Mr. Lincoln, you should grow a beard because I think you would look fine with one. And the ladies will tease their husbands to vote for you because they're fond of whiskers. And so he was really good at that political play. And what's so interesting about him, he's a politician. He did great things, but he's still a politician. And just finding out about that stuff that was behind the scenes of the Civil War and all those interesting little tidbits, I was like, wow, that's really fascinating to me, because you never think about it's not just a war and bad guys, good guys. There's so many other things that are filtering in to any kind of unrest like that. And it was so interesting to read about that and read about the political climate that just erupted, creating this unrest and this division of the Union.
Right on.
Yeah, check it out. I've listened to most of that, I think, from the Mega.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's really well done. I wonder if this still works.
So what are you... Okay, hang on. What are you doing?
Maybe it doesn't work.
So what else do you have planned for that feed then, Nap?
I have an interview that I've already done for somebody about California's contribution into the U.S.-Mexican War. And I feel like the way that that's taught now, I live in California and I have all my life, and we're not taught too much about the other side. We're taught about Mexico, and it was basically an invasion of this country, but there were reasons behind it that I was never told of, like the fact that there was both a Russian and an English settlement in California, and Pio Pico was going to sell to England, and England had every intention of getting the American colonies back with England by claiming this land, and it was going to be basically this competition. And you don't hear about that kind of stuff. You hear about, it was an invasion, it was terrible, and it absolutely was. But there's all these other things that were going on, and I interviewed a man down in Old Town. He works at Racine and Laramie Cigar Shop. Jeffrey Lawman, I think is his name. I have his card here. And I got a really good interview with him. Jeffrey E. Lawing. And I got a great interview with him. I'm really excited to put that together, get some footage for that and everything. Then I really wanted to do the American Revolution from the British side, because that is one war I feel like people in America.
Go Canada.
Well, also War of 1812, which you guys probably learn about in school, and I would say most Americans don't ever hear about that. Is, you guys know America tried to invade Canada multiple times?
we kept winning.
And but yeah, it's that is one war that I think, especially in America, they don't really teach it in England because it was just one of many colonies, and it was kind of like, all right, but they don't really teach it that way. But in America, they teach it like, yeah, we're the victors and we're warriors and we're amazing. And it's like, you talk about patriotism, a lot of it was fueled by smuggling, by these smugglers trying to wrangle the price of their smuggled goods against the legal goods that were coming in from England. They talk about taxation without representation. The taxation equivalent now would be about 1% of a person's regular income, except for like Pennsylvania, where it would have been about 30%, which is still dramatically low. And it really wasn't the taxation, but they had a much different political structure, and that it was largely smugglers and who instigated this war, who instigated the unrest. Paul Revere published a lithograph in a newspaper article that was very much what we call fake news now. There's very much yellow journalism trying to sway people to hate the British, and these British are monsters, and really telling a lie that started everybody on the path towards revolution. And it's really interesting to me to delve into that part of history. So I'm hopefully going to be doing some cool stuff with that. It's a much slower podcast to put together, but it should be fun. It should be educational. And I think that's what we're lacking now is, I think a lot of times in the educational system, people are and not knocking it, but just saying, I think that you have a lot of teachers and a lot of people in the pedagogic kind of society who are afraid to talk about uncomfortable subjects, who are afraid to look at things as multifaceted. And we need to, because if we don't make ourselves uncomfortable, if we don't reach and think about like, well, what is our enemy thinking? What's driving them for that? We can't understand our motivations, and we can't understand how to relate and stop to them in any other way, but let's kill enough of them until they quit. So, yeah, that's my little rant.
No, that's good. That's a good point. Yeah. No, we're looking forward to hearing
next to the
more
one
of that.
where we burned down the White House. I wonder if this still works. Let me see here.
Find the truth. Destroy propaganda. Use broadcast media to inspire global free speech. Unaffiliated media group.
See? Are you guys still using that?
I didn't use it in my podcast, but I can in future podcasts. I know, I'm an asshole.
That's all good. It's all good. Yeah, that's great. People should check that out. We'll link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you should make sure you come. Make sure you push us because it's we're procrastinators here too. Push us to come back on when you get new episodes out and stuff.
Yeah.
Rate that.
Oh.
Rate it for them too. Rate that when you're there downloading it. Rate it.
Yeah.
Rate us, give us a review, even negative reviews, even if you think it's the biggest pile of crap that you've ever heard. It helps me direct where I take things in the future.
Here's a new challenge. Since none of you guys ever want to leave reviews, let's see who can leave the nastiest 1-star review for us.
Yes, please.
For us. No, not for you now. For us. No, don't. That's not good. Hey, the last guy that left us 1-star, changed it to 5-star, and he's a friend of the show now.
That's right, because I know if people leave a 1-star, Graham will make it like a personal mission.
He's coming on for the black button. No, we didn't.
Change his mind.
No, we didn't do it. No, it was just organic.
Yeah.
So, hey, I got...
No. It's going to be me first?
Okay, go.
I don't know what jingle to use.
Okay, let me go.
What jingle? Okay.
I have news from Cloudhead Games. My sister's working for that VR developer. We had Danny.
Another edition of Grimerica Goodies by the people, for the people.
Pardon the interruption.
The jingle.
We had Denny on, who's the CEO, creative director. And they had the first episode out, and their second episode is out. Episode 2, Heart of the Emberstone. So we're recording today on Wednesday, October 18th, and it's out today. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to them. They're a little independent studio on Vancouver Island, working their butts off for over a year on this next episode. It's called The Gallery, Episode 2, Heart of the Emberstone. Did I just say that?
I think so.
Anyways,
no, you did just say that.
It says, so a couple reviews, like right off the bat today. One of the best VR titles out there. AAA quality, epic locations. Well worth the wait. Graphics and gameplay are superb. Definitely the best game for VR. And then I cannot believe how polished this is. It's honestly incredible. The graphics, the physics, the sound, everything is just absolutely incredible. Well done. This is a AAA VR game if you've ever seen one before. It is so far beyond any other VR game on Steam, and I really mean that. You need to buy this game. The devs put a lot of passion into it. I can't wait to see what happens next. I've barely scratched the surface. Also, there are so many options. Yes, you can walk if you want, or you can teleport or customize how you do that. This is a fantastic piece of art. I'm blown away. Bravo. So, yeah, big congratulations to Cloudhead for this release.
There you have it. And for those who want to check it out, that was episode 123.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll put a link.
To interrupt the jingle.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put a note in the show notes for this for that episode and for Cloudhead as well.
We know what we need. You know what jingle we need? We need a P.O. box jingle.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah, we got to keep an ongoing list of jingles we need.
What should I use?
Because it's fun to get. I go to the P.O. box every once in a while. It's fun to get a postcard or something like that. So
maybe
Darren's
maybe this will work. Oh, that fucking jingle doesn't work.
Bingo, bango, social media jingle. Don't forget to rate, comment, and or subscribe to the Grimerica newsletter. Bingo, bango.
There we go. We got a nice thank you card from our buddy Nicky the Dude. First winner of the Money Bomb, the short-lived Money Bomb. It was only around for a couple of months. But Nicky won it, and I remember we thought he was a girl, he was a guy. So ever since that, we've called him Nicky the Dude. Anyway, he sent us a nice card here. It says, some people just seem to have he didn't write this, just for the record.
That's like...
This is what's on the card.
Yeah.
Some people just seem to have a special gift for sharing their hearts in the most amazing ways. For them, it's never about being noticed for their acts of kindness. It's simply a reflection of the generous spirit that guides them in everything they do. Thank you. I hope the equinox brings y'all excellent stuff. Keep on talking. Nicky B.
Aw, and he sent the donation, too. Thanks for
thanks, Nicky.
Throwing some greenbacks in there.
And I dropped the other one on the floor, so just give me a sec.
I can't see Darren. He's in his hunting, his camouflage pajamas.
This is not. This is tie-dye,
hunting pajamas.
I got it at the hippie shop in Idaho.
Like, well, you're starting to hunt now, and I thought maybe that was your new overnight hunting gear. Like,
come on, man. Making yourself look
It
silly.
looks like tie-dye camo. It looks more like camo than tie-dye.
That's perfect, though. I'll use it for hunting. And I'll get
Are you going to have a first kill ceremony after you?
Probably, yeah. Smoke a piece,
very cool.
Smoke a peace pipe.
Yeah.
What are you going to kill first?
Probably partridge.
Really?
Yeah.
If I see something else, I'll fucking kill it.
Like what? Like a
I
deer?
just found out there's a waiting period. Probably have to wait like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Who knows?
Oh, and that's when you get your call or whatever, and then you go. You're allowed to go.
No, I'm gonna go hunting this weekend anyway with Joe. I just can't buy a gun.
You could borrow one of his, though, right?
That's right. That's exactly what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Should be fine.
Yeah, just go down to the States. There's lots of guns for sale down there. Just go to your normal corner store, get some beer and a gun.
Run to Bonus Ferry, buy a fucking AK, and come back.
Now, if you do ever want to try black powder hunting, I know that black powder guns, there's different regulations for sending them across the border and stuff like that because they're considered antiques rather than weapons.
What am I going to hunt with that?
A black powder gun? Ground, short range ground kind of things.
Things I could get real close to, like rabbits.
I was going to say, you want to hunt some rabbits.
Like close to a rabbit. The goose.
Be careful.
I mean, there's literally geese like fucking 50 yards from here. That we could probably just go kick in the head.
Yeah.
Out there all night, I can hear them just. Rah, rah, rah. Why would you? Because they're delicious.
Oh, as long as you eat it.
It's like wild turkey.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
not
goose, when I've cooked it before, sets off the fire alarm.
Huh.
Because of all the fat.
Ooh, very fatty. Ooh, I like fat.
Yeah, they're very fatty, so be careful when you cook it because there's a lot of smoke from the grease and the fat.
If you don't know.
So just unplug your fire alarms.
You know, I've been meaning to do a fucking episode with some recipes.
There you go.
Soup, maybe. My pancakes. I'll do it for the Black Budget app.
Okay, I'll stay at home for that one.
What do you mean you'll stay at home? You can't stay at home. And it was a nice jackpot at the P.O. box this time, eh? We get nothing for like 6 months.
Some of those have been
accumulated.
Some of those have been sitting in my bag for a while.
We got this one. This one's from Zaya. I'll leave it at Zaya W. Darren and Graham found you guys recently on the Tinfoil Hat podcast and was instantly hooked. Your jingles are amazing and your entire vibe infectious. There's something about the chemistry between you two that is ineffable in the best way. Thank you so much for everything. Keep it up. Value for value, gentlemen. Much love.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And he sent,
Thanks,
he sent some greenbacks as well.
Yeah. So it's valuable in Canada.
And this guy, he's this was a little test. And he says, did you get that postcard? It was a test. So
perfect.
Yeah.
I think I know exactly what he means.
Okay. Go ahead.
Now that I figured out the rules a little better, I'm a little less concerned about that. So
okay, good.
Feel free to send samples to the P.O. box. Medicinal samples. Okay, we got, this is from, actually I'm not going to say who it's from. I'm going to read it out. We'll see how I do at the end. From Amsterdam, sent on September 7th. So that's not bad. It took about a month to get here?
No, it was in my bag for about 3 weeks or a month.
Couldn't have been in your bag for a month. I guess it could have been.
Yeah, it was
so got here that quick.
Oh, maybe not that long.
Anyway, howdy, Graham and Darren. I've been listening to the No Agenda show since March of this year, and in the beginning of June, I listened to one of their Sunday episodes via the live stream. Right after their show, another show began, and little did I know that I was being initiated into the cult of one of the greatest podcasts in the history of mankind. That's awful nice thing to say.
Holy shit.
Of all the other shows and podcasts I listen to, I think yours has the most resemblance to the Higher Side Chats when it comes to the covered topics. Although I really like Greg Carlwood's show, Greg's a friend of our show as well, one thing it doesn't have is more than a half hour of phenomenal banter at the beginning of the show. I totally dig the relaxed atmosphere and the good vibes that the two of you create in every episode. I'm a monthly subscriber, but $3.33, that's $3.33, is far less than you guys deserve. Due to mononucleosis, man, I'm gramming it up over here. Due to mononucleosis, I haven't been able to work for quite some time now. As soon as I've recovered and found a new job, I will adjust my contribution. I didn't send you this card to read on your show.
No.
Too bad.
But if you do, you can say Amsterdam sent it. My real name is Dick Schut. But since Dick means penis in North America, and you won't be able to pronounce Schut without completely butchering it, I suggest you use my nickname. Love and greetings from Amsterdam.
And he's in the chats too, I think.
Yeah, I wonder how I did.
Cool.
You wonder what?
I wonder how I did.
You did fine.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's the only reason I try. Once he said I'd butcher it, I had to try.
So let's keep on that vein. I got an email here about the Black Budget episode, about the Black Budget feed. I mean, and supporting our show. Can I go ahead with that?
Yeah, man. You waiting for something?
So, what is it? Oh no!
Did you need me to buy you some time?
Yeah. No, this is good. Okay, so hi Darren. Episode 244 with Brian Sovereign was really good. The cryptocurrency segment was really interesting. I nearly laughed my virtual nuts off while listening to the robot sex segment. Have you heard that one, Nap?
I haven't, but I'm a big fan of robosexuality.
I figured you might be. So
I gotta go.
Please thank Graham for me on reading out my 5-star review, and I'm glad you got the mushroom reference. Anyway, it saddens me to report that I've discovered a minor flaw affecting all subscribers regarding the Black Budget bonus material link.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And this flaw has left me in a real bind. When I first got my email with the bonus material, I added the link to my bookmarks and then deleted the email, as I'm sure many listeners do. Unfortunate for me, I broke my Android phone and went back to using my old iPhone. I'm now devoid of all my Android bookmarks. Let it be a lesson.
We better donate again.
Let it be a lesson to all Grimerican subscribers. When you receive your email with the Black Budget bonus link, save that email. Keep it somewhere safe, somewhere special. Even send a copy to your mum. Because, like me, you'll have to risk Darren's displeasure and his wrath. Well, and I will add, personally, his procrastination. And don't send me the email because he doesn't read my emails. So just send it directly to Darren at Grimerica.com. You, my Grimerican friends, will have to ask him really nicely for another email to be sent to you containing that precious link. So, Darren, as you read this warning out, I hope, I shall be on my knees with my hands stretched out in supplication, my arms trembling in fear. I will be praying to the angelic powers to intercede on my behalf, that they might help influence the great mighty Darren to show me mercy and grant me my heart's desire, a fresh link to the bonus material, and perhaps a Grimerica sticker. Or two.
No to both.
Please.
Okay, fine.
In service to your cause from Deep Thought, the UK posse.
Yeah, I sent him the link right away, but I didn't read down past to the sticker part.
So
I'll send him some stickers. I have the postcards and everything, and I have the stamps and everything in the studio to make it. I got all that in the studio, so I would not procrastinate anymore.
So you want to do
Nice.
a little
So now I've just got
spiel
things
then?
sitting here ready to go. What kind of spiel do you want
The
to
Black
do?
Budget
I'm
spiel. So
unprepared for a spiel.
the best way to support the show and to get this extra content that we release in the Black Budget support feed is to donate any amount, any monthly, any one-time amount, and Darren will manually send you a link for the.
By the way, I think I owe some links.
Do you? And feel free to follow up if you don't get an answer.
Just like yesterday. I don't think I did yesterday.
But that's the best way for us to do it right now. It's not an automatic thing, but it's the best way to support the show and keep it going.
Yeah, that's right. It helps out a lot. So check out Grimerica.ca/support if you can, and join the tens of people that have chosen to support the show. There's sign up for a monthly there. There's everything from $1 a month, which is works out to about 20 to 25 cents an episode, right up to $30 a month, which is like $8 a show. And I think the most popular is $5 a month, which is like $1 a show, which is fabulous. Works out great. Big thank you to people that do support the show. Of course, like Graham said, you get the extra content then. Sign up for monthly if you can. That really works out the best. If you can't do that, you can do a one-time donation. That'll get you access just as well. And if you can't afford to do that, there's a bunch of stuff in the show notes. I'm going to sneeze. Achoo!
Bless you.
Thanks. There's a bunch of stuff in the show notes that doesn't cost any money at all.
We're like reviewing the show.
sharing the show, signing people up for the newsletter, all that. If you show me you do all that stuff and you can't afford to support the show, I'll send you the link anyway.
You can connect and spread this stuff on Twitter and Instagram as well. That's a good way to help.
Oh, yeah, that helps out too, or Reddit, or wherever you guys hang out these days. Wherever you can share us, if you can share us, it helps, because we have no marketing and no money.
Do you want me to read this other email that we had a little synchronicity about before the show?
Well, I did want to say that we've got, like, our buddy Amsterdam here that's not even working, and he's sick with mononucleosis, and he's still supporting the show. So I wanted to send him some good vibes to get him better.
So that means you should all...
Sending out good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes.
I'll leave it
That's a good one. I like that.
It is, yeah. We could send out good
Very
vibes.
nice.
Yeah.
Now,
I
if
just-
Amsterdam
I
can
just
support the
came
show,
up
you
with
should
that.
all be ashamed of yourselves for not doing the same. Can't you reach into your heart and support the fine podcasting that you get from Grimerica?
You know, I noticed there's a bunch of downloads on the Black Budget feed the other day, too. That's why I had that spiel in the fucking Black Budget app. I was like, some of you guys are getting this someplace. I can't track it down, but someone's stealing it. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, it's too hard to trace. Who cares, really?
How do you know that, though?
I don't know. I just get like random spike of like 120 downloads on like a Tuesday when we haven't released anything in a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay.
And there's like,
Yeah.
there's only 100 people signed up for the Black Budget Sport feed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not hard to be like, what the fuck is happening here? A few times, because I found it in a few spots. Like every once in a while, I'll Google it and it'll pop up. Like I found it on like Podbay and Castro and Castbox.
Wow, what the?
And I just email them. And I'm like, because I think what it is as soon as somebody enters a podcast into their system, it's set up in such a way that, so if you're on like Player FM or Castbox or any of these FMs, if it has FM in it, fucking please download something else before you fucking put in the URL. As soon as you do that, it like pops it into their library. And then people are finding it. I mean, it's not a big deal.
I see what you mean, yeah.
But it's not fair to the people that are supporting the show to get it. So
Yeah.
then I email them, and it takes like a week, and they eventually take it down.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually one day it'd be cool to have an app that could integrate all that, but that's not an option anytime soon. Should download the app, though, because then you'll get to see the art.
Yeah. That'd be nice.
Yeah. I should read this email because this email was up on my screen and Darren was asking me about, didn't some guy email? I was looking through how did you see it? You were looking through my computer.
So I was going to copy, I was still trying to copy your fucking emails on it. Actually, I think that's when I downloaded them and put them on the hard drive, and they've been sitting on the Mega ever since.
Okay. And then I had it up on my screen. So this is from Dr. Dave.
Dr. D.
He says, hi, Graham and Darren. And this is titled Gratitude, where gratitude is due. I just wanted to say a quick thank you to the both of you for unknowingly helping me finish my PhD in biochemistry. I listened to the whole back catalog of Grimerica late at night and into the early hours of the morning while doing my experiments. I've attached my complete thesis. Feel free to read it if you like. It's a bit full on, but I do highly suggest you have a look at the acknowledgments section where you will find an official thank you. I didn't know the academic world would go if I... What did he say? I didn't know how the academic world would go if I specifically put Grimerica in there. I really wanted to, though, so I had to settle for something a little more subtle. Page 23 or page 26, depending on how you look at it. Best wishes to you both. You have both played a massive part in my life for the past few years. Apologies for the small donations I've passed on. I'm time rich, but cash poor as a student. By the way, I haven't looked into him in the past few months, but a good person to interview would be Michael Tellinger. He has two main streams of interest, fucking up the banking cartel and strange South African stone circles, which are very, very old and unexplained. There's lots of YouTubes, and I'll try to send through a link and a decent video with him in some stage. The best thing is the guy like you two, down-to-earth, a people person. Cheers, keep up the great, inspiring work.
So what's on page 23?
Dave, now, Dr. Dave.
What's on page 23?
Acknowledgements to us in his PhD thesis.
Is that what he's talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he had hidden something in there.
Well, it is hidden. He didn't say Grimerica. He probably mentioned like Darren and Graham from Canada or something like that.
But isn't it attached?
Yeah, it is. Do you want me to look at it? Can you kill a couple seconds? That's a long
More
thesis.
seconds. Kill more seconds.
It's coming.
That's what she said.
Oh, see? Without knowing it. I would also like to thank those who have kept me sane without necessarily knowing it. The Canadians, Darren and Graham, and the scholar, Chris, PhD. So
That's Chris Ryan.
Oh, yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's quite fucking honorable company.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Dave. Good luck in your new venture.
Of being a doctor?
Yeah.
Or PhD? Doctorate?
He says doctor, so he's got a PhD and he calls himself a doctor. You can if you want.
Yeah. It depends on what kind of work he's doing. It's biochemistry. You can do that without a medical degree necessarily.
Can you write prescriptions?
I'm not entirely sure. We have a huge biochemistry industry in San Diego, and it's pretty wide in what you can work in. But anything that, biology as affected by the introduction of different chemicals and such is going to fall into the biochemistry rainbow.
Well, if you do have a prescription book, just send one over.
There you go.
Send it to the P.O. box.
Just write out a fake prescription for us, and we'll just keep it in the studio.
Some good vibes.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Nap.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks
have
for
fun.
all the great art.
Hey, no worries.
What's it been like? I think we started doing the art like 100 and some episodes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first one that first one that I ever did was the Mafia, the marijuana Mafia. Actually,
So was that like 120 something?
Yeah, it was well before the elections. It was when Bush was still in the running. The Jeb Bush was still in the running.
Bush was going to win.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, he said that Jeb Bush was going to win because there was people were pulling the strings, and so it's an interesting listen. That's the first one I ever did.
Alrighty. Okay, well, thanks, Nap.
All right, take care.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, and everyone else, thanks for listening. Thanks for putting up with our lazy ramblings. Maybe you skipped ahead, then you missed out.
And enjoy this episode.
Enjoy the chat.
This will be an interesting one. Tonight we've got Alex Polinsky here, and he's the creator and founder of Avatarism.net, and I think he's involved with Happy Spaceship and all. We'll have to ask him about that. He's a third-generation actor. He's been in some films and TV commercials and shows and shit like that, and he's written some music, and he's produced a movie. Like, he's into all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, it's good to have you here. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, guys. Hey, Grimerica. What's up, dudes?
We are the Canadian guys with the American-sounding podcast name.
Usually we get, what is it, not Bill and Ted, the other two fucking guys.
Yeah.
Rick and
Who?
Bobby. No, I can't
Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Bob and Doug.
Oh, yeah, that's old school.
Yeah, that's totally old school.
Yeah, the kids won't know who the fuck that is.
No, Darren doesn't even know who that is.
I don't hardly know who the fuck that is, but I remember like those fuzzy muff hats, I think, and beer. And
Tukes,
beers.
they're called Tukes.
And some beers. You guys really sound Canadian. It's awesome. Very, very, very exotic.
Oh yeah, very exotic. I know I sound like a stoner and I don't even partake, and I try not to sound like one, but it just doesn't even work.
You can make money off that, in voiceover.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not. That's you do the bit of voiceover.
I should get into voiceover. You think I could make any money in voiceover?
Yeah, I've been doing voiceover for the last 20 years or so. Teen Titans, Ben 10, Minions, Krampus.
Oh my god!
Right now, I'm in a great show on Amazon called Lost in Oz. It's like a modern-ish remake of The Wizard of Oz. Great on Amazon Prime if you guys got it. Binge it.
Wow.
Your logo is super. I don't know. It seems like
the logo for what? Avatarism?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Avatarism is this game philosophy, weird, awesome thing I kind of been working on for my whole life, sparked by a conversation that I had with Jim Henson years ago.
Wow.
When I was a kid. I got to meet him when I was 7, and he told me this really cool thing. I'll tell you later on in the podcast, or maybe we'll save that for another one. But yeah, I had this crazy idea about creating characters. The Muppets really turned me on, and superheroes really turned me on. I'd leave a superhero movie all crazy and feeling like I was Spider-Man or Batman for days, and I wondered, what is this? What is this? Drugs, and I had never tried drugs before, but it was the closest thing to a psychedelic experience. I think that's true for a lot of people. They leave these intense entertainments like video games, and they kind of it's like, whoa, what the hell happened? That was 12 hours, but that was 3 hours of the most intense action. Or whether it's you read a book, or yes, there's somebody from history who is like an avatar to you, whatever it is. Or maybe it's that you have this mixture of characters and mythologies inside you, kind of a Joseph Campbell, hero with 1,000 faces kind of thing. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we all created our characters like we do D&D characters or characters like RPGs, and then we kind of turned inwards and we're like, let's fucking make that a game and up level in actual real world ways and kind of uphold each other. And then through that, we all kind of create our own self-created self-help, so we don't fall prey to stupid cults or religions that don't mean anything anymore. And what we really want to do is play games, all of us. So I just decided, hey, fuck it, let's do this thing. And I started researching. It was crazy. I found out that there are still places in the world where avatarism is the thing. Like in Nepal, they make a little girl a living goddess from the time she's 2 years old to the time she's 13 years old, and then the shit wears off. She go to the mall and be a real kid. But
wow.
during that time, her feet can't touch the floor. She has all her meals brought to her, and everybody in the town comes in, prays to her, right? It's crazy. And so you see, and then she goes back to being a real person. So you're like, what is going on? How do we as human beings keep creating this celebrities or part-time gods or our cult leaders or what is this? Why are actors paid the most out of anybody when all they're doing is trying to act normal, right? Or try to act super normal, superhuman. And that's what we all want to see, and that's what we all want to be. So I said, fuck it, let's take the power away from the movies and away from the religions and the cults and give each one of us the power to make a personally created mythology, completely unique. Doesn't allow for anyone to be the centralized cult leader, because everybody's the cult leader of their own shit.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was thinking about you coming on the show, and I was thinking back to I was reading your blog and your your avatar character sheet and all, and it brought me back to I was a D&D guy. We used to play Dungeons and Dragons, and we you were just talking about being swept away in that. We used to play all night, and we'd be excited to play, and we'd be into these characters and into these scenes, and that was a way that we sort of it was a healthy way for us to totally use our imagination and even skills and stuff, and writing and creativity and all that kind of stuff, and in this, totally. And when we had these avatars, and then what I think you've done with that is take it to more of an adult thing where you can actually use it as a spiritual growth or personal development tool.
Yeah, nobody wants to be bored and depressed and get sad by doing self-help. They're trying to up level. I think self-help is one of the most boring, scary phrases ever. They just get rid of it. I want to up level. I want to play. I want to pray on my feet. I want to become a warrior, poet, Muppet, Jedi. Listen, they just let servicemen in the U.S. start putting the hammer of Thor on their gravestones. And that's a huge thing, because before, Thor was said to be a mythological character in the eyes of the U.S. Military. And so he wasn't eligible to be on the gravestones of service people. But now they allow the hammer of Thor, because so many service people were saying, hey, you know, who's my God? It's not this one. It's not that one. It's the God of War. It's Thor. Wow. And we wanted to honor them for their personal fucking mythology. And I think finally, you know, even with all the crazy stuff that's happening, and that our trans brothers and sisters are coming out and being like, we're actually here, this is a thing. And like, okay, so what's the next step? Is like honoring people for like, you're a fucking Jedi. I want the Rebel Alliance insignia on my gravestone if I'm a service person, because I've more than anything, I've identified with Star Wars my whole life. And more than anything, that is my spirituality. Nothing else fits more than that. And I think going into the future, like, we should be able to honor people for whatever they are. You know, my grandmother, when she was dying, said, where am I going? And we said, we don't know. Where do you think? And she said, I think I'm going to see the fairies. And I agreed with her, and I said, no, nobody's going to take that away from you. You know, if you believe in the fairies, you're going to the fairies. And I sincerely believe she's with them, and I hope she is, and I hope, hey, I can go there too. It sounds like fun. And we can do that. I just want to be one of those shining lights in the dark saying, hey, it's all make believe. Let's honor people for their personal mythology. Finally. God damn.
Why not? Yeah. Instead of pigeonhole them into some sort of category they don't want to be in, like let them
Pursuit of happiness, bitches. Pursuit of happiness, bitches. Let's do it. This makes people happy. Let's just do it.
So how do you help people? How do you help people, like, if you go through this character sheet and this development, like, how do you figure out, like, because I've, like, let's say, I mean, let's use I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here, but let's talk about going to festivals, for example, and you know, and everybody's all dressed all this crazy shit, and like, let's say for somebody me a little bit older, but I still like the music, I still like to go to a festival. What do I do? Like, how do I feel uncomfortable? Like, how do I create an avatar for myself where I go there and I'm like in comfort and confident and in that, where, you know what I mean, where it, like, it fits me, and I'm not trying to be somebody else, or I'm not trying to pretend, or I'm not trying to just fit in or not fit in, or whatever the case may be for that.
Oh man, I love going to festivals. I feel like my second home is at festivals, because we're all locked in these little homes and apartments and things in our real life, and then we go to an outdoor event, or we go to a multi-day festival, or a camping festival, or a psychedelic festival, you know, one of these things, Burning Man out here in the West Coast, you know, lightning in a bottle. You guys probably have your own. And what you see is this amazing freedom of action. You know, your people are embodying things that maybe they haven't ever embodied before. Maybe they're going without so many clothes, you know, maybe they're going in strange costumes, maybe they're wearing some makeup, maybe they're just wearing a t-shirt, you know, that's a little bit more, you know, funny or you know, just something a little strange that they normally wouldn't do. And so how I like to look at it is, okay, look, if you are doing your avatarism, if you're trying to come up with your character, whatever that is, or whatever grouping or, you know, mishmash, you know, of characters it is, fine. You're out there. You're gonna be accepted for whatever you try to embody. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, but that's what I think we should look for. And I've learned through the years working with people in avatarism is that if you look for the thing that makes you excited and uncomfortable, both of them together. So if you see the outfit in being sold in the thing, and maybe it's a little expensive or whatever, just weigh the outcome. Like, if you put it on, you know, and it makes you feel awesome, you know, it's worth it. Okay. You might spend a little money, but you know, like, you're going to have one of these things, you know, you don't only need one costume for a while. And I know there's a lot of like festival ego with these people, and you see them and it looks like you couldn't possibly look that good. But avatarism is a great way to come into that, because look, you can download the character sheet at avatarism.net. It's a free PDF. We're working on a really awesome book and a kind of a more detailed way of expressing it. But here's the answer to that problem that you told me, is that you don't want to be well, let's just say you don't want to feel inauthentic, because everything's fucking inauthentic until you do it for a little while, right? Everything's, you know, it's only kinky the first time. And so what we find is if we can push ourselves just to try it, there's something magical happens. We get out of our comfort zone, and the avatarism of the outfit takes over. You know, you've ever worn like a really incredible costume in Halloween, you feel different. Or like you were saying, we created these characters, you know, in D&D, and we felt the thrill. And I'm talking like a real thrill, like fucking hair standing up on the back of your neck, creating that character, watching it do something, feeling the thrill or the excitement or the devastation of getting killed and thrown out of the fucking game. And you come out on the other side different. You have some different skills. You've been through something. It might have been a game, but you had this sort of like heroic, circuit of creativity and belief, and you were there with other people, and it was, okay, so roundabout way of saying this, the character kind of has to come first. It's like, who are you embodying? You look at the character sheet and you kind of look at yourself in this whole new way as a collection of memories and a collection of influences of famous people, of cartoon characters, of TV shows, of books, maybe of sacred symbols, maybe of secret religions, maybe of secret teachings, maybe things you've collected, maybe just your grandmother's wisdom and a whole host of other magics and skills. And you look at all that. You finally look at that. Like maybe I would say that maybe 99.9% of the people have never like diagrammed out their magical character as they see themselves. And some people say, well, I don't have a magical character. I'm all this. And I say, well, that's your magic. The fact is that you're a nihilist and you believe in nothing, and you're going to go around and you're going to be right about it. And you're going to be that one who reminds us that maybe everything is nothing. And you're a superhero now because you're actually doing the great work of the universe, embodying that archetype. And so actually you're not a nihilist. You're being a superhero nihilist, and so that's actually something. So you can't really believe in nothing. Yeah, anyway, I love refuting that, because I've had people come to me and like pay me for avatarism coaching, help them change their character, executives and normal people, actors, and a couple people have come to me and say, okay, nothing means nothing. It's all meaningless. Now build a character for me. And I said, you've already got it. You're already winning. You've won me over. Everything's meaningless. And to be honest, they leave happy, and I'm so happy about that. So here's the deal: is like you want to create a character that is magnetic, that speaks to people, that people like remember you. And it's your fault if they don't remember you, right? It's your fault. So we've got to create a character that is engaging, not overbearing. It has something to say, that has a gift ingrained into it. So when you look at all of your influences on the character sheet, I think what you're going to find is you're going to find some sort of directive. It may come in a minute, it may come in a week, but look at this character sheet. Look at your design that you've been working on for yourself over your whole life, and you're going to see some expertise. For you guys, it may be we're performers and we just wanted to figure out a way to talk about the things that we like and interact with people and be social. And you guys learned how to do it in a really spectacular way, and other people will learn from that. And some people will just be fans of yours, and other people will get inspired by you. And that's the whole purpose of avatarism, is this ancient thing. Now, avatara or avatar is an ancient word from the Hindu culture. And it means gods inhabiting human bodies, or it means humans acting like gods, or humans that have godlike qualities. Any one of those fits. And so, and I don't mean that you are going to become God, capital G-O-D. It means you're just going to feel more like that feeling that you left the movie feeling when you were a kid and you thought it might be possible, and you want to get that back. And there's 100 ways to get it back, but I think this is one of the healthiest.
almost more like resonating with your higher self or something. I mean, you could almost think of it in spiritual terms like that, like embodying your higher self or your soul, like your soul's purpose, that kind of thing, putting that into some sort of action. But how do you figure it out though? Like, what if you're trying to figure this out? Like, it's a bit overwhelming. You're like, I don't know what I'm interested in. I'm interested in all these things, or I want to be all these things. Like, how is there like a meditation or some sort of like tool you can use to get in there, to get inside? Because it's a bit hard to even figure that out, I think.
Yeah, I think you should just look for what excites you. And like I said, there's those two things, is like what excites you and makes you interested, but what also makes you a little bit trepidatious. And this is stuff about your character, thinking about what you might want to be. There's a great story about my friend Dan, Burning Dan. You can Google his name. He was a great fire spinner and brother to actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And Dan was one of my best friends, and he was a computer programmer and did some great work for his brother, designing a website called hitrecord.org, collaborative art website. very big success, wonderful thing. And Dan was very much a nerd and a code jockey and a computer gamer and a gamer and was very sort of normie. And one day he went to a vintage store with two girls, which is, fun. And they said, Dan, you should try on this pink and green zoot suit. And he went, hell no, I would never do that. And then they all left, and then he went back after they were gone. And then he tried it on, and he looked at it, and he bought it. And then he spent the next few months, I guess, or a year, going to parties in this pink and green striped zoot suit, and people started calling him Watermelon Dan. And he realized that if he had a character, that his whole life as a sort of introvert, as a little bit of a nerdy person who maybe has trouble in social situations, all of that became easier. Not perfect, but so much easier, so much so that he got addicted to it. And he said, wow, this is peacocking. This is showing up as a gift. And now it might be that you're sort of hiding in an outfit, and maybe that's the watchword. Like if you go to a party and you have the American flag t-shirt, American flag pants, and it's, not ironic, you're just being a flag, not much to talk about there. But maybe not so. Maybe you're very patriotic, and maybe that's your avatarism. I don't want to knock anybody. Go be a flag, man.
Or maybe you're kneeling.
Yeah. Right. And so this is, so when you go out to festivals and you want to figure out like what your character is, and you think maybe it's going to be hard because you just don't know. Sure. Maybe you should meditate. Maybe you should quiet your mind and ask it in the sweetest possible way, kind of like a grandfather or a sweet elder, or like maybe somebody talking to their dog that they really like, good boy, just tell me what you want to do, make it really easy for yourself. And if it's ridiculous, like some of my shit was ridiculous, dude. It's like, I wanted to be an action figure, and I was working at a toy design studio trying to get my avatarism done so I could, make myself into an action figure, because I love toys and collecting toys, and I love that stuff. So I became a toy designer, became a toy maker for like 5 years. And it was all with this crazy kind of quasi psychedelic wish that I was going to be able to design myself as an action figure. And I was almost there when my good friend Jason Marsden, who's an amazing actor from Miyazaki film Spirited Away and tons of TV shows, he comes and visits me in my little toy shop, and he says, you got to get back into acting, man. What are you doing here? Toy shop with all the plastic dust. What are you doing? And I said, and this was a few years before I had come up with avatarism, and then I realized it was a thing that had already been around. And I said, making myself into an action figure. And he says, you can do that a lot faster when you go back to being an actor. And I was like, wow, that's a great idea. Yeah, I think you're right. And so I went back, and within about 2 or 2.5 years, after being on the Starship Troopers Roughneck Chronicles as the narrator and one of the main characters, and then getting Teen Titans and Ben 10, I was finally an action figure, and then I got an amazing action figure from Transformers Animated. So I got to do it faster because I sort of went with the more dangerous thing. And to be honest, I was scared to get back into acting for a moment. It's a lot of rejection, and I'm an artist in 10, 20 different ways, and so I'm happy if I'm working with my hands, happy if I'm making music. I just got a song right now that's getting released by Axe Tone Records. It's like DJ Axwell, this big time DJ's label. So I do things pretty well. I don't want to brag, but I do art well. I don't do math well. I don't do clean the house very well. And my dog literally has to remind me to feed him every night. So I'm not good at everything, but those things I can say I'm good at, and I owe a lot of that to avatarism, because I believed in this one thing, that if you can get close to the things that you love, if you can get close to your heroes, if you can get close to the feeling of being like your heroes and not fanboy and fangirl for your whole life, and really get close to them. It's called darshan. It's an ancient word. It's that thing when you wanted a guru and you found him, and then you didn't talk. You just sat on a hillside laughing, and then you went home and you're like, I spent $3,000 going to India. I laughed with some old fat guy on a hill. Then I came home. We didn't even say anything, but I feel great. And you're like, that story is all over the place in all these ancient books. Darshan is this wordless up level that you get from people, but you only get it from people who are better than you at something or have something to give. And that's why it's so important not to surround yourself with D-bags.
Wow, that's well said. Wow, yeah. Geez, I mean, I was thinking there must be a risk at escapism, you know, like not, like you said, not becoming a fanboy or whatever, but not taking it too, you know, you must have to sort of have that balance. Yeah.
You can go too far into script.
And like, what's the, is there a parallel there? I mean, obviously there's a parallel, but what's the difference between that and the current fad of like cosplay? Not that it's a fad, I shouldn't even call it that, sorry, but the whole cosplay phenomenon right now. Like, you must have seen this all grow through your avatarism, like when you're looking into avatarism and then having that whole culture just explode around you must be pretty weird.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it, and I want to be a part of it. And I also know that it's mostly a consumerist thing, and the kids are being I wouldn't say pushed, but it's a natural sort of instinct of the group to create cosplays that everyone knows from recognized products that are consumer products. And when I try to get in there, I try to be this sort of virus in the system that goes, okay, mutate, and we're not going to make fun of kids who we can't tell what costume they are. Ultimately, I think it might be a different group. Like cosplayers are everything is a subset of avatarism. I haven't found one group on the earth that isn't a subset of avatarism, that isn't some sort of conspiracy on the layperson. And once you get inside the Golden Gate, you go, oh, I just have to put on the ring and say the thing, and that's it. And they're like, oh, shush. And they're like, yeah, okay, great, wonderful. What else can you uncover that's like that? You know, everything is like that once you learn. Now, planetary brain is alive in the form of the internet. They can't really hide this stuff from us, but people are still getting stupid because they get swept up in evangelistic, too simplistic, sick and twisted linguistic shit that gets thrown at them, and they're not creating anything for themselves. So when you ask me, when you said, they get caught up in it, but they're going to get caught up in their own thing. They're going to get caught up in the thing that they've created, hopefully. And it's and one of the creators of Avatarism, who's an amazing psychedelic writer, her name's Jessica Simon, T Fairy, writes for arrowid.org. She came up with the thing, it's a feature of the game of Avatarism, not a bug, that you can put the character down whenever you want and go back to being your home character, especially when your boss is getting your face going, where are the forms of C329-6 that he promised me by 5? And you're not going to be like, don't talk to me like that, I'm a superhero. No, you're never going to do that because you're not insane. Avatarism doesn't make people insane, just like movies don't make people insane, and they say violent video games don't make people insane. The thing is that I've noticed that some mainstream and or dominator religions, who will remain nameless, make people insane enough to go kill people. So let's just look at this. Have the fairies ever incited wars?
Yeah.
Have hobbits, Jedis, or even orcs, superheroes? I mean, it's a clean slate, I feel like cosplay is this great entry-level avatarism, and people get into it, and they feel that, to quote, The Wall, that warm thrill of confusion, that space cadet glow when they get inside the suit. And they're like, wow, what is this? I'm powerful, and guys are taking pictures of me, and this is wonderful, and people and girls are talking to me, and this is wonderful. And you know what? If it makes people more loving and social, and it makes people want to be connected, my fucking God, we need more of that right now. We need to educate our brothers and sisters how to up-level their morality, up-level their spirituality in their own way. I just don't want to tell people what to do, and I'm really turned on by the idea of self-created spirituality within like a fantastical, fun, not serious framework, so it doesn't get anyone all bent out of shape. You can't embody that. Why are you wearing that belt that way? It's like that trim isn't. I saw that movie, Cowboy Bebop. That's totally wrong. And you're like, okay, well, that's kind of the cosplay mentality. So I want avatarism, and my ultimate joy would be to do these kind of workshops at cons and comic cons and festivals. I've already been doing them at music festivals where it's all accepted. Like the kids are in their rainbow, sparkle, feather, space cowboy outfit, and they're embodying something. And, I keep coming back to this thing. Like if you figure out some stuff about your character and you figure out like what your character wants to do or what its gift to the world is, that will become a communication. And funny story. So Dan, go back to Burning Dan. Like he had this jumpsuit at Burning Man that was a tiger stripe, orange jumpsuit with a bomb on the front. And so you look at it and you'd be like, what, tiger bomb? And you go, yes, would you like some? And he would step forward and he would put tiger bomb on people's nipples, everybody's nipples. And then he would force them to like all join hands and put their arms around each other's shoulders in a circle. And they would all wait till their nipples started burning like a mother sucker. And they would all look at each other and have this kind of wild experience. So what I looked at Dan, I was like, what the hell? You created a character that had a name that people could like, wait a minute, what is this? That would create a conversation that led to a gift, that led to a group experience, which kind of made you allowed to touch people's nipples. And that must have been fun. And he just smiled at me. He's like, yes, And so that on a weird sort of awesome, strange scale is the recipe for your alchemy of your character. Your character has something that it wants to do. You want to have an interaction with people. You want to interact with people. And that, that book, the not The Secret, but the game that tried to get guys to hit on girls in this really specific way, right? That shit doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And because it's tricks and tricks people learn tricks and then they don't work eventually because everybody learns your shit. The thing about avatarism is, it transforms the way you speak about your actual self into something that is more fun for you. And that lights you up and brings the sort of people that should be around you closer to you because you're not afraid anymore because you have a way of speaking about yourself that's not boring, that you've seen people accept. And I think that's a huge part of why a lot of us who are like me, introverted extroverts, kind of shy but push through anyway with a lot of tricks, is because we learn these tricks.
Yeah. That totally reminds me of the whole spiritual part about when you're on your path and you're following your light and you're being of service, or when you're following sort of your path, that you are like this light and that you are this energy that's, I don't want to sound woo or anything, but you're vibrating at a different frequency and it's resonating with people.
Or fake it till you make it.
I'm playing the woo bells right over here. I love fake it till you make it. I love that. That's like, I think that's the story of most actors' lives. And like you said, we get actors at the top of their game get paid so much money to approximate this sort of fake reality. And when we step back and we realize that we're worshiping them for that, for being really good liars, like assassins for truth, and a specific experience, we go, if we could in our lives have even a 5% of that, we could create joy for others. We could like move ourselves from moments of pain and insecurity into moments of, maybe less, because something real actually does happen for actors. There's a lot of crazy actors, but there's a lot of crazy people. I survived TV shows and movies. I'm not that crazy. I seem to have a pretty good beat on life.
But you sort of you transformed, didn't you? I mean, you were pretty successful when you were younger, and didn't you have sort of a transformational experience from that world to more of a spiritual type?
I did. Yeah, I did. I had a couple of them. I mean, the one interesting thing about my avatarism is that, and then maybe a lot of people would resonate, is that, some of us have had sort of spiritual experiences our whole lives that we can't explain. Not at all. Mm-hmm. And we had no way of talking about them, let's say when we were 3 or 5 or 7. And, and so if you're, some people maybe just forget them and discount them, or they don't, but my parents sort of gave me this great gift. They said that I could be any religion I wanted, out of every religion in the whole world, or something completely new. And it was part of the adventure of my life to go and figure out what my connection to spirit, to spirit was. And they said it would be cool as long as I found something. And I went through everything, even some crazy shit that scared them. You know, they should throw away this book. What is this book? You know, satanic stuff. And I'm like, I just want to know about it. I want to know about everything. He says, Mom, hey, I don't really believe in the positive aspect of that story. Why would I care about the negative aspect of that story? Like, I just want to know what exists. And so I went and got out of the trash at midnight, you know, and didn't kill any babies or do anything. It's dumb. Okay. So it's just a book. So, you know, I was allowed to really experiment with all that stuff and maybe having the spiritual experience as a kid, and having experiences with spirits and with precognition and psychic phenomenon. And I've also, you know, I mean, I've seen it. I've had evidence, very clear evidence that there is more to this world. Yeah. And I can't say what that is exactly. And maybe we're not meant to know, but it's so much fun just to leave it open and not to frame it so hard with someone else's ideas. That's the whole exciting thing about being alive in this day and age, when you're not going to get burned at the stake for thinking that maybe nature is alive and maybe the world birthed us and we're just a part of it, actually, you know, and this universe is a creator of beings, you know, and that's it. And there is no great creator. It's just everything all the time. And like, who cares? And I love being able to say that stuff and not get burned as a witch or whatever. So there's a perfect time for avatarism, because so many people are still scared that they're going to come and get them, you know, if they speak out and say that they're a natural based religion, or if they believe in psychic phenomenon, or they're a, you know, conspiracy theorist. I believe that conspiracy theorists, it's a type of spirituality. It's a type of religion. They're deeply concerned and maybe deeply disturbed, but it's their thing. Some of us need to be turned on by sort of negative energy all the time. It's not the most healthy thing, but hell, you know, it's an ethos. It's I appreciate all kinds of interesting information. I just generally want to absorb it all and make the good stuff part of my character and keep going. Yeah,
sometimes, I mean, it could just be asking questions. A conspiracy theorist might be just wanting to ask questions and not having maybe not having the answers all the time. I mean, that's kind of the way we are here, is like, I know there's something else going on and I don't know what it is, and I don't really care. I don't really care. I don't mind leaving it open, like you said. But we do live in a schizophrenic society where materialism and our culture is sort of forced to not accept any of this, you know, otherness that's going on. And yet everybody, or not everybody, but lots of people or people they love have had these awakenings or experiences. And we talk about that a lot on the show. You know, it's like the church of personal experience. And it's changing. And I mean, we are, you know, maybe that we are in this time where the culture of materialism is it just can't withstand any longer. There's just too much evidence and there's too much personal experiences going on that I feel like even in the last few years, I mean, maybe we're focused on it on this show, but I really feel like it is changing. So, but can you talk about a couple of those experiences that you had?
Sure. I mean, what are you interested in?
Oh, geez. Anything ghosts and aliens or anything like that?
Yeah. Well,
aliens.
Aliens. Okay, well, you know, it's interesting. Like, one of the coolest experience I had just in the alien culture is at a place in the high desert of California called Landers, California. Landers, as in landing. And they built a sort of a landing site for UFOs or for aliens, called the Integratron. Have you ever heard of the Integratron?
I have. I've been wanting to go there. That's one on my list, like really like important list of stuff to do. Darren's writing notes right now. Yeah, isn't that a place where the sound, like they play sounds and music, and it's very acoustic.
Yeah, it's like being on the inside of a huge Stradivarius violin. The whole place, there's no metal. It was all put together with pegs and dowels, and the entire thing. So it's almost like, I think, 3 or 4 very round boat hulls that are all put together, and at the top they're pressure fitted together with a 2-ton ring of solid poured concrete that was fit over the top of it. So, and then there's a hole out to the sky. So the entire thing resonates up to this huge stone and then throws the sound skyward. And the people on the inside, no matter where you are, if you speak or make a noise, everyone can hear it. And if you stand in the middle, so I got invited to spend the night inside the Integratron where we toned for hours.
No way.
Singing bowls, crystal singing bowl orchestra of about 60 singing bowls and gongs. And then the coolest thing was when it was all over, I stood in the middle, and I've been sort of leading meditations the last 2 years at a meditation and New Age church in Venice Beach called Full Circle Venice. And I've been doing kirtan, and so I sort of toned and sang and made noises. And the crazy thing about this structure is the sound that you make rotates around and goes right back up into your ear. And so if you're a musician or a singer, you can hear yourself better than you've ever heard yourself in your whole life, even with headphones. And so you find yourself singing more purely and beautifully in that space than anywhere else. It's remarkable. I highly recommend it for any of your audience, for any of your listeners, to go to the Integratron and do a sound healing, or if they have a special event, stay the night. It's unbelievable. I converged there with about 70 healers from all over the country, and it was intense. There was an intense amount of healing. There was an intense amount of spiritual ego, intense amount of meeting of the minds, and anytime you can be in a focused healing. And it was led by a Native American named Bavado Rainbow Thunderheart, who is famous for healing the ley lines and the electrical ley lines inside the earth, and doing ceremony and laying down rocks and crystals, hundreds of them, and doing these amazing medicine wheels out and healing these parts of the earth with various groups of people. I mean, it was really a wonderful thing that he was doing for years until his death last year.
Wow.
We should build one of those things as a studio.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm serious. I'm trying right now to raise funds and begin to do plans to have Integratron Hollywood. I want to have a resonant dome in Hollywood, possibly on top of my house here, so we can do this thing. But you guys make your Integratron Canada, and I'll come up and visit you. It sounds like a great idea.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. So I mean, I
can see what it's like when you do it when it's fucking 40 below.
Oh, Jesus! It does something to the sound, crystallizes the sound. You can shoot.
Oh, then you could have like sound
weapons,
sound fucking icicles.
Sound
when they as they melt, the sound comes out, so you could actually podcast into the icicle. And then you take it home, throw it on your counter. As it melts, you hear Graham's bullshit.
That's like programming crystals. So did you guys have anybody have any experiences there? I mean, I've used a singing bowl out in the stargazing before to try and make contact, and I was just in a healing circle with only about 7 or 8 of us with a bunch of singing bowls and stuff, and that was amazing. I can imagine with like 60 or 70 people in there.
I heard that other people saw something that night. I was kind of under the weather and just really focused on having more of an energetic healing for myself, so I didn't really experience that. But I was going to tell you that a lot of people do, and Landers, California, I think is the place to see that kind of phenomenon. No, I saw alien phenomenon in Ashland, Oregon, where a lot of people see alien phenomenon. So I was I was fortunate enough to be in a really amazing jacuzzi with a beautiful woman. And we were wearing night vision goggles, not to look at each other, but we were specifically looking at the sky on the recommendation of my then boss, Jay Widener.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Who's a noted, historian and conspiracy theorist of all sorts, and also runs Gaiam TV, is the program director of Gaiam TV.
Yeah, he's been working with Jay Dyer, I think, recently to put something together, eh?
Yeah, man. Jay hasn't asked me to be on any of his shows yet because I went through an amazing experience with him and made a crazy film with him called The Last Avatar, which you can rent on Gaiam, their membership site, Gaiam TV.
Okay,
I think.
Cool.
But I was in Jay Widener's jacuzzi looking up at the sky with these night vision goggles, not 15, 20 minutes. I saw a clear, bright object come straight from left to right and stop right in front of me. And I took off the goggles and I could not see it.
Wow.
Put on the goggles and it was there, just there. I even wiped the front of the goggles to make sure it wasn't a bug that had landed on me. And then it moved 45 degrees, and then moved another 45 degrees, another 45 degrees, and then another 45 degrees, and something like that, and then sped off.
Wow.
And it did this crazy, like, geometric little movement, very fast, and then shot off in another direction. And I was like, holy shit, that's amazing. And then, with the naked eye, a couple weeks, maybe a month later, out in the middle of Oregon, maybe near, it was rural Oregon. I'm not sure. Maybe it was Bend or outside of Jackson. I'm really not quite sure, but we were at a farm, like at a place where they make bread and they grow food, and it was like a cooperative farm. And me and my lady were sitting on top of a warm engine of a car and staring up into the sky, enjoying some cider. Not too much that we would be seeing things. And now I've seen satellites. I know what they do. They come at a slow and steady pace. They're very light. It can be kind of a bright little point, but, they move steadily. There they are. That's a satellite. This thing came straight out of the horizon, very fast, was very bright, maybe 5 times brighter than what I would experience with seeing a satellite on a very clear night. Yeah. And it stopped right on above us for a moment, and then it sped off, going that same trajectory that it had come in. And so, went straight across the sky, but paused right above us. It was unbelievable. And I remember looking at my lady, and I was like, 80, what did I just see that? And she goes, motherfucker, you just saw that. Don't start doubting it already. Right? And because she had seen stuff like that for years and years and years. Because she's from Montana and had moved to Oregon. So those were the two experiences that I had. And I thought I saw a UFO in 1984 when I was a kid. But it might have just been I got scared because I think they had a fake UFO in the Olympic ceremony.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They had a fake UFO in the Olympic ceremony?
Yeah, like it was either I remember as a kid in 84, because I was in LA when they were having the Olympics. And I remember it was like, it must have been like E.T. and like they did like a thing where E.T. like came over the Coliseum or something. I might be totally crazy, but I thought I remembered seeing some sort of alien thing in either the opening or the closing ceremonies of the 84 Olympics. And then as a kid, I could swear I ran outside because I was so excited that the aliens were landing and I wanted to see them. And I went outside and I thought as a kid that I saw this ship, but I can't be sure. I might have just been really excited from seeing it on TV. But that's crazy. I want to know how many kids who got fooled by that. And if it actually wasn't a UFO in the 84 closing or opening ceremonies, then that's weird. Then I have a fake memory.
Was it the Goodyear blimp?
It might have been. No, because I knew what the damn blimp looked like.
I'm looking at some pictures on YouTube, or not on YouTube, sorry. I Googled 1984 Olympics UFO, but nothing's coming up.
No way.
So maybe you are fucking crazy.
Okay, that's the weirdest thing. That's really weird.
Oh, wait. Apparently there was a real UFO at the 84 Olympics.
What?
Wow.
What?
Here we got here.
What?
Conspiracy theorists believe that the closing ceremony from the 1984 Olympic Games prepared the world for an alien invasion. Oh, wait, one sec.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there was a UFO in the closing ceremonies. Yeah.
Okay, so I ran outside to go see the UFO, and I was just like, I believed it 100%. And I almost thought that either I saw the UFO leaving or it might just be a memory from the actual closing ceremonies. But that was pretty amazing. I love UFO movies. I mean, I love Communion. I love Close Encounters.
Contact, yeah.
I love Contact. Am I one of the only people that likes Communion? I just love that film.
It wasn't E.T. though. It was just some fucking alien looking dude.
But that's the thing about these lights in the sky too. Like people just poo-poo lights in the sky, but you know what you saw and what many people see. It's not just an airplane or a helicopter or like, you know, it's a natural phenomenon. Like it's something intelligently controlled, and it shouldn't be doing what it does, you know, and you can tell the difference.
All right. You can.
Yeah.
So, so I mean, that's basically my alien experience. I have, if you guys want to hear about precognition, psychic stuff, that's a pretty interesting story. I was a teenager, and I think I was 15, 16. I was 16 years old, and I was with my first girlfriend in her house in Pasadena one night, and she's she right before we were going to bed, both slept downstairs in their guest room, and she's going up to her room, and she said, Alex, I think something bad's going to happen. And I said, oh yeah, what bad is going to happen? What thing? She goes,
that was your in, bro.
Right. Right now, well, the thing is that she was born again, and I always respect people's, rituals and religion. And so her parents were like, please don't deflower our daughter. And
even though I wanted craziest ones too. Yeah.
Right. They did the laying on of hands.
How do you know?
There's something to every magic has its own, special workings. It's an interesting thing. They did a lot of some of those groups, they do the laying on of hands, they do a lot of prayer, and that stuff can be very powerful. But she told me that she was endowed with a power given to her by Jesus Christ. And when she was shown the face of Jack Nicholson as the Joker from the original Batman movie starring Michael Keaton, and she would see this face hovering in her own basement below her house, in her own mind, she'd see this. When she would see that vision, she knew that Jesus was telling her there was going to be an earthquake.
Wow.
I mean, I looked at her and I was like, okay, sounds good. I went to bed, and 4 hours later we had the Northridge earthquake. 4 hours. She predicted it by 4 hours.
I've read stuff before where it's like that people they have to display it, in their own sort of
manifest in its own way,
because
right?
it's in your mind. It's not a physical thing, or it's not, you're doing it. So it's just projecting itself in your, it has to be something. It can't be something new. It's something or something you expect, or something you.
Yeah. Now let me qualify and say that this girl is like top of her class. She's an amazing person now. She's like a producer of like the Real World for MTV. She's got kids, a husband. She's an amazing person. This was something I think she told me that it doesn't happen anymore. But it astounded me. I mean, it astounded me. It made me really interested in psychic phenomenon and precognition, and the fact that, and more than that, that's like sort of separating it. What I found by listening to lots and lots of Alan Watts, who's a great British, philosopher,
yep,
is like that we come from this world. We weren't brought to this world. Maybe we were seeded. This whole thing was seeded by aliens or by fungus or whatever, but it's very conceivable that aliens are just other creatures that got created by other worlds, and this world gave birth to us. And, Alan Watts used to say, look out where there are rocks. You say, oh, there's nothing but rocks on that planet. He's like, well, look out where there are rocks. There are going to be people, because rocks, they support fungal life, and fungal life creates multi-celled life, and multi-celled life creates, many-celled life. And here we are. And so from that, you gotta think we've got connections to this mother planet that we don't understand. Dogs have knowledge they're born with, their genetic knowledge. We have genetic knowledge. We can't possibly. I mean, they're doing all kinds of studies that say that, if your grandparents, your great grandparents went through a famine, that not their kids, but their grandkids are going to be the ones who benefit from the genetic difference in code, and they'll be more resilient to surviving famine. I mean, that shit is very interesting. I mean, that's almost like, it's like, where does genetics and psychic ability kind of intersect? Because it seems like messages and connections to the earth and to each other are just inherent.
That's because it's all ones and zeros, man.
Yeah, the singularity is coming. I don't know if we should be scared of it. It's just like, we're going to create it, and we're going to be able to see and feel and be more. It's going to be weird and scary. I mean, in some ways, I wish we could all just go back to how the Native Americans lived for a little while. But without the diseases and shitting outdoors all the time.
Shitting outdoors ain't bad.
No, it isn't. I know it isn't. I was just
right.
the Rainbow Gathering up in Oregon, and I shit outdoors, and it was very awesome. Feeling the wind on your ass hairs is quite nice.
I was just in Oregon too, man. I love it in Oregon.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I didn't
Don't
look for UFOs,
anybody
though.
go there though. Leave them alone.
Yeah, don't go to Oregon.
It's great how it is.
Yeah, Oregon's terrible. Don't go to Oregon. It sucks.
It smells. Yeah, it smells like patchouli. Gross.
And shit.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, no, but I mean, maybe the closest singularity is really just us looking. Like, it's like you always
Singularity
say,
is not coming.
Darren, it's like what you always say about no, you can think about it as the simulated universe type thing, right? The digital universe. So as we look deeper and deeper into our reality, it becomes digital, like the simulation.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking the other day when my phone froze up? Maybe if we go fucking too deep, it all fucking freezes. And that's it. Maybe we're on the edge because I can't handle any more data.
Process it anymore.
We open too many trees and we look too small, so it's got to keep making all this data, and it's just running out of space. And that's why all this crazy shit everything's starting to break down.
Glitches in the Matrix kind of.
Yeah, so it's all glitching out because it's going to freeze soon.
It's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. All of us.
Shit you say when you're stoned.
Let's get small.
Speaking of that, I mean, has psychedelics been a part of your growth?
My dad was a Haight-Ashbury hippie.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about that.
Hung out with the Merry Pranksters in the 60s and
wow.
Basically got arrested for protesting the war and tried everything. So my bedtime stories were, from him at least, were about his acting and about his experiences in the 60s and psychedelics. And so I had a really good psychedelic education really young. My dad wanted me to know the benefit of his experience and the scary stuff, the interesting stuff. And so I guess how I describe myself is sort of like a second generation psychedelic person. And I was given education about it. The way I chose to interact with sacrament is in a sort of ritualistic way. There's specific ways I interact with it. There's reasons. There's things I want to understand and learn through the experience. I generally don't do sacrament all the time. It's not an everyday thing. It's not an every week thing. It's maybe not even an every day, month or year thing. It could be every few years for an experience if I haven't made something out of that experience, or if it doesn't seem like, so many people use substances as an escape and then find years later after they've escaped that they don't have the skills that other people have. Like they've sort of traded in some of their mana, their power for these experiences. And those experiences are, could have been, they're very limited. If you do repeat the same thing over and over, you're going to get basically the same lesson. Yeah. So that's not how I like to interact. And that's why I look at substances as sacrament. And I encourage everybody to sort of look at that in that way too. Alter the way you think, because your body is a temple. Your mind is delicate. Until I didn't experiment until I was 23. And at 21, I think it's recognized your brain's done forming. And we have so many kids going into psychedelic culture and doing massive amounts of entheogens and before their brains are done forming. And I generally listen, if you're under 18, if you've ever had mental problems, if you haven't had a good life, and you have some, anger issues, if you're unstable, these things aren't for you. They're not going to be good for you. And certainly if you don't have any information on it and you're not being led in a certain way, you know, they're doing all kinds of studies right now with psilocybin. Have you guys been following those? With
a little bit. Yeah.
And the end of life experience. So when people know that they're going to die from a terrible disease or something, they have all these anxieties, like they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know where they're going, what death is going to be like. And they're experimenting with giving them a moderate dose and a guided sort of tour with psilocybin and music or just some sort of guided meditation. And it's having an amazing effect. You can see all kinds of research on YouTube if you look for it, psilocybin end of life. And I think that's really important because if you haven't, you know, 30% of millennials or kids right now, young people, don't have any philosophical or religious affiliation. And so that's gonna, you know, that's fine. It's their thing. But if they get to the end of their life and they're like, fuck, I never prepared. I don't know what spirit is. I have no framework for this. Then substances like entheogens, you know, sacraments like psilocybin mushrooms, used in a very controlled way, give people a spiritual experience that prepares them for the mystery. And I've seen it, and there's no other way to explain it. It's hard to explain. It's like explaining art. But you'd have to experience it. You have to look into it for yourself and see what people are saying. It's not the scary thing that people say it is. It's not the joke that people say it is. It's actually a doorway to another type of consciousness, possibly another type of world. I mean, when you use psilocybin in a forest setting, there is no question that fairies exist. Fairies exist. So you want to put yourself in a religious situation, you know, or a spiritual situation with this drug, you know, just be careful where you are, who you're with, and what you're programming, because the stuff that you do when you are altered goes into your deep memory, and it could, you know, stay with you for a very long time, for better or for worse. And so the bad trip is just all about, like Leary said, like, you know, it's set and setting. You got to control things if you're going to reprogram your mind. And I'd like everybody to think about like some of these things, even like psychic phenomenon or aliens, you know, that stuff reprograms your mind, because the society doesn't want us to think about these things. And so we become altered by these experiences, and you want to be easy on yourself. You know, don't do too much conspiracy theory. You're going to get tweaked. You know, take it easy. Don't do too much avatarism. Don't change yourself too much so that you lose sight of all the things that you were too fast. And, you know, so everybody's different, but entheogens, definitely caution, interest, fun, examine, experience, learn, but caution. And yeah.
I think that balance is important. And I think that's what's missing in our society is in our education as kids, even not religious and not, you know, anything dogmatic, but just that sort of balanced look at spirit and spirituality. And, you know, the people that I meet that are spiritual are usually pretty aware of their defects, and they're very grounded in that way, which you wouldn't expect, but there's an accountability there, it seems, you know, like, and an awareness around their behaviors and how they affect people. And I don't know, I wish we had learned that, even just basic mindfulness in school, like some basic, you know, watching your breath, watching your mind, just some basic tools as kids and in our culture. Right. I mean, maybe it's happening now, but
yeah, it's happening a little bit. I think kids are learning. You know, I try to talk about meditation on my Twitter account. I got a bunch of fans of my different projects that maybe find me because of Charles in Charge. That was on that show when I was a kid in the 80s. Or maybe they find me because of cartoons. But then I'm kind of open with how I live my life. And so I'll say, you know, I meditated today, or I'm spending the day not speaking. You know, I'm going to write things, but I'm not going to speak all day to give myself, you know, a little bit of a break from communicating and see what that does to my brain. And it's not in a like dogmatic, like you will do this and this is the effect it will have. And, you know, I'm your guru now. And it's like, no, I basically just want to entertain people. And I think we all should be sharing, all of us should be sharing our workable technology. That's how that's like if we want to gamify our lives, like what the fuck? Why are we dealing in talking platitudes all the time with the people that we're around. Like, do you know the cheat codes that your friends know about how they do their life? Have you spoken with them? Have you asked them how they're doing that shit, that magic shit that you don't know how to do? That's darshan. That's like being with your friends, learning a little bit. Like, I learned from Dan, like, once I was like, hey, let's hang out. And he goes, I don't hang out with my friends. And I go, that sucks. That just made me feel horrible. And he goes, no. I like to do projects with my friends. Would you like to do a project with me? And I was like, yeah, I want to talk about the band and go miniature golfing. And he's like, okay, well, that sounds great. That's a meeting and that's an activity. I can do that. And basically, I just wanted to hang out with him. But like, if you transform your relationships into projects, even small ones, something, you do something, then you end up learning more about the person and you get something done and it's exciting and all your deep memory circuits get, lit up. You got dopamine, you got your adrenaline, you got your oxytocin, the trust hormone gets activated, all that great stuff. Like we want to make our own body drugs by having a great life. So we don't have to do these gross drugs like over alcoholing ourselves or over marijuana-ing ourselves or stimulants or even just, too much binge watching of crap. It's like, there's people out in the world that can make your life better and you're not interacting with them. And there's a reason. Maybe you just, you got nothing to say. Doing a project is a great way to have something to focus on. So you don't have to be so, you know what I mean?
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's good. Meaningful, interactions and stuff. A little bit deeper than just, watching the game, and talking about nothing. I mean,
hot today.
Yeah, how's the weather today?
Yeah.
I love how you're looking at all this. Like, when did you get so curious? Like, I love how you're looking at all this genetic memory stuff. And I mean, it reminds me of, like, I've been interested in all this sort of like the next level of health and wellness and biohacking. And I heard about this human garage going on in LA and they're doing amazing leading edge work with healing and they're using spiritual energy work with scientific work on fascia and like chiropractic stuff, like all this like science meet spirituality in the healing environment with all these like doctors and athletes and scientists. I mean, there's so much to be interested in now.
Human garage. That sounds. No, I haven't heard of that. That sounds amazing. But I want to go submit myself to as many experiments as they offer.
Do it, man. They're just ramping up. I mean, and they're talking about this genetic memory, like the stuff you're mentioning about, the famine and getting some traits from your second generation back, your third generation back that help you or hinder you. I mean, there's so many things we don't know about why we are.
You want to hear the most intense one that I just heard? And you're going to have to check this. But the most intense one I just heard, and ladies, they'll just have like kind of take a pause for a moment. But like basically all the partners you've ever been with as a woman, if you've ever been with someone and had sex unprotected and gone to full fruition with the dance of love, basically you are then coded with a small amount or an amount of that person's DNA, and the child that you'll have years later will still have some of the genetic material from that first douchebag that you fucked. Don't fuck that first douchebag.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Like, and because you always heard the wives' tales of, honey, don't do that or don't do this or be careful with that. And you're like, oh, whatever, I'm just having fun. And you're like, oh no, there's something dogmatic about how you're telling me to behave. I could do whatever I want. And you're like, well, wait a minute, I don't really want you to associate with that. Like, no, it's fine, I'll be fine. And you're like, wow. You're going to carry a piece of that person's genetic material in your offspring.
Yeah. And there's also a risk of not being protected all the time because you're sacrificing some sort of healing potential as well if you don't ever get the semen,
Right.
And I can't remember the science behind that, but there's something pretty serious about
Wait. Rewind. Take that from the top.
That's the alchemical. He's speaking of the alchemical elixir, the ultimate.
Yes, exactly.
Elixir.
And if a woman doesn't get to experience that at all, there's a total loss of healing potential there, and you're missing some sort of protein and all kinds of other stuff that.
How do I get my protein?
That's conjecture. You're the giver of the protein, and you get to die first. you die before her. So you give up all your essential minerals so that she can live on and continue the species. It's very altruistic.
So Graham's so much healthier than I am.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. So how did you, I'm just interested in your transformation from this like child famous actor who sort of probably, I mean, I read a little bit about your blogs and stuff like that about falling into a little bit of that trap and consumerism and the whole Hollywood thing. And then your transformation into something a little bit more, spiritual or whatever. That like was there a moment that shifted that, or that you sort of?
Yeah, it was an incredible visionary moment. I mean, it was leading up to things. I mean, I think I had prepared myself by sort of cultivating my own personal mythology along the years and thinking, allowing myself to think that I am the one. Everybody thinks they are the one, and you are. For your thing. And so, but it's very important for us to allow ourselves to think that we are the one. And so I was allowing myself to think that in some various ways. And I had this visionary experience, at an Indian reservation at a party that was supposed to be for thousands, but that got shut off and cut off by the I think the feds, they said, or the Bureau of Indian something or other. And so we were in there, only a few hundred of us. And I had this incredible experience where I lost my ego completely, became just a pair of eyes. And up until that point, for quite a few years, spent my whole sort of prepubescent childhood up to the time I was 16, 17 as an actor on a TV show. Charles in Charge, and every night of the week my show was on, and I really thought that I was this actor guy, and I was important, and I was a great actor, and I had all these things ahead of me, and then I really I had a big ego, and I remember a few people told me that I had been rude to them or had been kind of egotistical, and I felt shame. And in that moment, when I lost my ego completely, it went away. I became just a pair of eyes looking out at the world, and what I saw was beautiful. It was so beautiful. I mean, there was music, and there were human beings, and they were having a great time, and just thinking about what has just happened in Vegas. It is such a tragedy, and also to have people just taken in when they're enjoying and being happy and allowing themselves to be frivolous and have a good time. So these kinds of events are so important. And I always like to say that if aliens could have the real awesome technology where they could see if people were happy on the earth, and they could see groups of people and how happy they were, they could kind of check out where they wanted to land. They might land with the Raelians, because they have I've heard underwear parties, and they make landing strips for them. But then I think they send me emails. It's crazy. I've never been to one of their gigs. But hey, if aliens are going to land, and they're sweet, they're nice aliens, and they just want to hang out and figure out what's going on, they're going to go to one of these groups, or they're going to see that rock concerts and concerts where beautiful music is being played. Those are the places where people are the happiest. And those are the people where there's the most concentration of joy. So I think there's something in that. There's something in the big art. There's something in the large scale art and the big music and the music and the expression of joy in groups. There's just something to that. Anyway, I went off on a tangent, but what was I?
You're talking about you're losing your ego at the Indian reservation.
Oh yeah. So I lost my ego. I became a pair of eyes, and when I came to, I think I was inside a space speaker, with a couple very cute girls, and we were all, I think, making out. And I realized that, I had sort of been living in this really tight existence. I had been kind of afraid to be myself, who I felt like I was inside, and the ego was taking over and making me do rude things. And what I really wanted to do is create beautiful things in the world, create art, be a toy designer, create paintings, write things about embodiment of philosophy, the whole thing that I always knew I wanted to do. I was stopped by doing all that because I didn't want to look uncool. Yeah. And all the people around me weren't doing anything like that. They weren't doing anything like that. And so I would have risked doing everything different, and I had to do everything different. And that's why at the end of that experience, I ended up back in Hollywood at my childhood home, standing in a tree, up in a tree in the morning, kind of coming down from this experience. And and thinking to myself, everything is going to be okay. I love this tree. I've been in it a million times since I was growing up. And I'm here again in a childlike moment with my eyes wide open going, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to make beautiful things. And that can be performance, and it could be art. It could be writing. It could just, as long as I'm creating something to add to the soup of humanity that's just good, better, make it better. It's my own style. I do it for long enough. I'm going to do it better. Somebody's going to be like, hey, that's unique. I'm going to get an up level. I'm going to get dopamine. I'm going to get adrenaline, good body drugs. I get to create my own happiness. I get to be a joy Jedi. This is how I want to live my life. This is not some like kind of like pie in the sky. Like, I want to become a better person so I can get into the gates and they'll say in the stone that I did it right. No, I want to have a great time here. And I want my memories here on this earth to be so awesome that when you download them, in a little while, like I'm hoping we can download memories soon, because like I think that me and a few other people, maybe you guys, like maybe other people that realize that it's all about the experience, the church of experience, the church of fucking experience, like you said. Then when we can download people's memories, like we'll be the next YouTube stars. We'll be like the memory stars because we've really done something exciting and weird and interesting. They're going to be like, I want to live the experiences of the guys who created the Grimerica podcast. Well, I want to live inside there. No,
you absolutely do not.
Absolutely not.
No, that's well said though. I love those. I love those awakening
and Graham's bath.
awakening moments. You know, like
toilet reading.
I mean, how many of our guests have had like those amazing awakening moments, and their whole life has shifted, and they've just reached found their path. I mean, it's unbelievable. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, so I keep I get to be a transformational or a transmogrificational voyeur.
Yeah.
Because I get to keep meeting people, and they say to me like, okay, well, what is this avatarism? And I go, well, it's the you, it's the whatever you that you want to create. It's the oldest you. It's the you that when you thought you were Rainbow Bright and Gilligan or fucking RoboCop and Jesus Christ, whatever you thought you wanted to become, whatever you thought you wanted to become, rather, is the thing that you can now design and create your life around more directly than before. And that really makes people excited, makes people happy. They want to live through these characters a little more, but they also want to have their own experience through it, because maybe their home character, the one that they got created. And speaking from experience, like I survived, some pretty weird things, like I had a manager who was a pedophile. I had a babysitter who, was a rapist.
Yeah, me too. Well, it didn't get that far, but
yeah, like I got molested and my friend got raped. It's like, so like, and some could say that like, okay, well, people who have been damaged, they just need this fantasy to escape. And you know what I'm going to say is yes. And fuck you for making that wrong, because this world is full of bizarre, weird fantasies, the racist fantasy, the this fantasy, the that fantasy. And the fact that I want to self-create or say that I'm a Joy Jedi or a Hobbit Jedi as my archetype for life, because I like to defend and I like to fight and be a poetic warrior, but I also like to garden and, I like both ethos, and it's so funny. It's like these things are so ingrained in our lives. And I know, like, oh my God, I have friends that go ghost hunting. Shout out to my friend Kristen, who's I think in Rhode Island, and like, she goes out ghost hunting on the weekends. She goes to Salem. Like these things are a spiritual path. Just because they're not connected to some recognized thing that you can give money to or say I am a blankety blank. Avatarism, I really believe, guys, is the oldest philosophy on the planet, or maybe on every planet, because the first thing we do, even before language, is we embody the other creatures that maybe we want to hunt, or we embody the spirits we think are causing the lightning or whatever. And like, we just make things up. And so this creating of sort of elevated character is super ingrained, and it's used against us to make our kids want to buy things and make us buy endless collectibles that, we get excited to buy, but then they sit on the shelf for years and we kind of look at them with a slightly tarnished sort of majesty because they don't do anything, guys. Like the 1979 Spider-Man activity belt was a bitter disappointment, gentlemen. It was bitter disappointment. The grappling hook would not grapple. The string would not hold. It had no workable things on it. It was miserable. And I got it for my birthday, and I seriously, I ran out to the back porch and I tried to be my avatar, and I felt like it was limp as limp as fuck.
That's well said. So did we talk about that movie you were producing before? Maybe we should mention that before we wrap it up.
Yeah, sure.
Because that sounds pretty interesting too. You're into all kinds of shit here.
Yeah, so I got an email from a group that was making a film called Going Further spelled Furthur, Going Further, the movie. And basically these kids, this great group of kids, they were working in, I think, social media, and they got sick of their jobs, and they heard that the son of Ken Kesey, the legendary bus driver, the writer of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Academy Award-winning film, and he cashed in all of his money and bought this psychedelic bus. His friends painted it. He was actually working at an insane asylum, and a government project came in and called MK Ultra. And they started testing all the people and doing these wild experiments. And he got wrapped up in the experiments. He was an orderly there, and he just became part of the experiment. They started giving him LSD, and he realized that he had a cognition. Crazy people aren't crazy. They're just a different type of person that are pushed out of society because they don't fit. And he had this crazy cognition. And out of that, he wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And then he got swept up in the LSD / spirituality inducing experience, a whole thing. And he wanted to take this out. And so he grabbed a bunch of his friends. They put on crazy costumes and they drove across the country in this crazy bus, sort of with this psychedelic culture, and embodying it and showing everybody what this new thing was. And they had never seen anything like it. So this film chronicles a little bit of the beginnings of that, but then it was just a few years ago, it was the 50th anniversary. And so the son of Ken Kesey got another bus, painted it. It was actually his father's, was the second bus. So it was actually a real bus. They were on tour with it. So it's the second Further bus. And they created 400 new merry pranksters all across the United States, sort of mimicking some of the tours that the original bus went on. And so Going Further, the movie, you can see the trailer right now, I think on YouTube and Vimeo. And maybe when you guys publish the podcast, I'll give a link to that so people can see it. Right now, they're trying to sell it to Netflix or to Amazon. So if any of you Netflix, Amazon people have an ear to this, we want to sell you this great film about a historical, crazy bus trip that changed the world and changed everybody's minds. And so, the old saying was, are you on the bus? Are you off the bus?
The magic bus?
The magic bus.
Now it's a wagon. It's a little less magical.
Yeah, no, they still have the bus. The bus is really beautiful. You get to really experience – the bus is like a character in the film, and you get to see it in 100 different ways, and it's decked out with LEDs now because we got all the technology. Like the old shamans used to say, he's like, if we had the stuff you guys have, hey, we'd use it. Just happens that we only have the drums here in the Amazon. Yeah. But you guys have the big speakers and the lasers. Hell, if we had that, we'd use it.
Right on, yeah. Wow, yeah, I was one of my most incredible spiritual experiences was with a Bose sound system with ancient instruments. So yeah, that's why not pump it through that system? So
pump up the volume.
After learning about or more about this magic bus and that whole 60s sort of experience there, what do you think of these conspiracy theories about that being more of like a CIA kind of operation and more of a intentional sort of movement, not so much an organic, spiritual movement from the ground up?
Yeah, I think anything's possible. I mean, it is possible that there was something to that, that they, I don't know. I don't really want to say what I don't know. And right now, what I do know is that I feel a very powerful connection to that time period, just like my dad did. And why I feel a connection to it is its feeling of change and possibility. And whether or not it doesn't matter. The cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
And you can't, and I love Terrence McKenna when he says you can't make your magazines and your movies and your media companies without psychedelic people. You think you can? No, you can't.
Yeah.
So we're ingrained at every level of politics and culture and business now. And in fact, I'm hearing lots of underground reports that people in high level business are starting to experiment microdose. It's all over the place, right?
Totally.
So you know, it's a whole new world. It's out of the bag. It's interesting. Of course, governments try to do things. They try to gain an advantage, but I don't think it quite worked the way they thought it would.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought too. Yeah, I kind of think along those same lines. If it was there, it was sort of like they were following along or taking a look or peeking inside, but not necessarily creating it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, our forefathers really here are the natives, you know, the indigenous people, the First Nations people. They are our forefathers, and in this land, our forefathers used psychedelic experience, used Vision Quest to understand this land and understand how to live with it, and it gave them a lot of understanding and a lot of gifts. Both the cactus and the mushroom, and so, you know, it's good to look into those things, and it's becoming more and more accepted, and I'm really very happy about that.
Bingo bango, you're welcome. I'm an Indian.
Darren's a Canadian.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I have a French Canadian ancestry. We're about to get our genetics tested. My mom feels pretty certain we have some native Canadian First Nations in our blood. So,
well, let me know what tribe. Maybe we're from the same tribe.
If we're from the same tribe, does that mean like I can like we
means you can crash at my pad?
Oh, sweet! That sounds great. All right, cool. Well, yeah, I'll get right on that because I need a place to stay.
Perfect. Well, yeah, it's getting cold fast.
If you are ever in Calgary, make sure you swing by for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, guys. Thank you. This has been really, really cool, interesting. And if you ever want to talk again about some other subject, we could. Yeah, I have lots of other stories.
Yeah, man, it's been fantastic. It's been a great conversation. Yeah, and I'm thinking about just doing this, filling out this character sheet. Creating an avatar.
Make yourself a little avatar Grambo.
It's my gift to everybody. I'm working on a book called Alter Yourself, A Guide to Avatarism.
Oh, nice.
And you can check out my old blog at avatarism.org. And then the actual website, which has some blog materials, but has the free PDF. Or you could donate it. You give me a couple bucks if you want to further my work and help me out. That's avatarism.net, and you can also follow me on Twitter at Alex_Polinsky, Polinsky, and I think, is that it?
Yeah, I think so, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, hey, check out my SoundCloud. I no joke, I'm like about to release a EDM song with legendary DJ Axwell. He just his record label Axton is releasing a song of mine called Losing My Mind, and it's biographical from when I lost my mind, but I got it back in time to promote the song. I just lost it for a second so I could write the song, and then I got it back.
Just misplaced it.
Can we use that in the show? Is there any way we can use that in the show as bumper
it's
music?
Not, yeah, it hasn't been released yet, but I would love it if you guys played one of my other songs from my SoundCloud, and maybe you could just choose one that you liked. And
yes, for sure.
Whatever one you did.
Yes, yeah, we'll do that for sure.
Fucking A.
Right.
Yeah.
Fucking
okay.
B.
Thanks, Alex.
Right on. Take care, buddy.
Soon.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay. Bye-bye.
That was a chat with the one and only Alexander Polinsky. What'd you think, buddy?
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Gooder, as they say.
I'm going to play D&D one of these days coming up.
These guys are fucking going off.
Oh, he's calling back.
In the chats today. And that was our chat with the one and only Alex Polinsky. What'd you think, buddy?
Oh, that was fun. That was lots of fun. Yeah, I'm going to go... did you know I was going to play D&D a little bit here coming up?
No, but it's kind of synchronistic because the guys are going off in the chats right now. They're talking, wouldn't it be cool to have role play, a D&D podcast
No.
or some shit. And I'm
Really?
like, I was like, actually, I think you guys would kill it. And then they're like, we should play virtual D&D this weekend. And now they were like, I was trying to say something and they were like going off. They didn't even care that I was there. They were just fucking D&D. Oh yeah, Friday, fuck.
And I missed it all?
Yeah. Talk to Grimsteak. I think
Okay.
he's the ringleader.
Okay.
You can get in on some
What does he know
D&D.
about our chat with Avatarism?
He's going to love it.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was fun.
My avatar is D-Ron. When I come on the podcast, I transform into D-Ron the Stoner.
Oh, yeah. You don't have much transforming to do.
Subtle.
No, that was good. I love the whole spiritual awakening thing as well. And I think it's a tool to improve yourself. I mean, anything to bring out your true self, I think is good.
Absolutely.
Authentic self.
That's like, even if that's wearing women's clothes downtown.
That's right. Getting rid of that bono.
Get rid of that bono. Maybe you get another bono, but get a different bono. Yeah, big thanks to Alexander Polinsky for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Big thanks to people that support the show, make these great conversations possible without any commercials and shit. Check out grimerica.ca/support if you can, guys. We would really appreciate it. Winter's coming. It's getting cold. Yeah, we could use some more support. Grimerica.ca/support. The best is if you can sign up for a monthly. There's options there as low as $1 a month, right up to $30 a month. That gets you access to the Black Budget support feed, which gets some extra content there. Couple ups a month. There's some stuff there now, like 10 or 11 apps in there already, so you guys will be loving that. So yeah, sign up for a monthly today. If you can't do that, you can maybe do a one-time donation. If you can't afford to support the show monetarily, there's a bunch of other stuff you can do in the show notes. Just check out the show notes.
Rate the show.
Rate the show.
Review it.
Rate the fucking
I think
show.
that's good.
Susie, what's your excuse for not rating the show?
No, I think that's really one of the things that will help us the most.
Over 10,000 of you. And there's 70 reviews? Yeah. It really is pitiful.
Don't say that.
Well, it is.
No, a lot of people that's pretty good. 70 reviews is pretty good, but I mean,
it is. That's
those tinfoil hat guys are going for 1,000.
Yeah, it's because they push it hard.
Do they? Well, we should push it.
Well, don't make us push it that hard. Just review the fucking show. Do it right now. It'll take 5 minutes. All right, guys.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.
My turbo power is depleted. I don't have breath. I can't sing no more. Probably stare at the wall until I see right through it. Probably stare at the ceiling until I see right through it. Thousands of feet up, that's you in a jet plane, flying to paradise. Also known as heaven. Also known as heaven. Clouds, 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 and more clouds. Clouds, you make me proud. Go groan alone. Go roll your bones alone. The location is west of the river, and I'm wringing my hands and pacing the floors, listening to Fenwick's records. But other than that, thank God I'm satisfied. Thank God I'm satisfied. Thank God I'm satisfied. Thank God I'm satisfied. This composition is extremely personal, but I'll never tell you why. I'll never tell you why. Watch the walls watch me violently toss and turn in bed. Violently toss and turn in bed. And the radiator is hissing and clanging and whispering this. The location is west of the river, and I'm wringing my hands and pacing the floors, listening to their Rojo record. But other than that, praise God, I'm satisfied. Praise God, I'm satisfied. mind. It'll make you lose your mind.